remember I was eating tater tots at his house, and I got increasingly sick.
You ate too many tots?
The tater tots made me sick.
It is pretty hard to pull the plug on eating the tater tot.
Oh, yeah.
I never got sick from eating stuff as a child, though.
Maybe I ate too much of it.
Like, clearly you ate too much of it.
I don't know what it was.
I got sick from eating tater tots. Maybe I ate too many?
Well, there was that one with the raw fish on it. Shan's mother had told me not to eat it, but I was like...
I had too many tater tots. Welcome back to Jack of the Shadows podcast. I am Eric VC, and as always, I'm joined by my favorite nickel and 2 quarters, the VC boys. Say hello, Adam.
I'm 2 quarters.
Oh, you thief.
I get the quarters.
Say hello, Dave.
I'm a nickelback.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, you just threw yourself into the gutter.
No, I made lots of money doing it, so I'm strangely okay with that. And I married Avril Lavigne. I'm still okay with that, too. So, it's something I throw out to all my Canadian friends out
also,
there.
Your bank account's looking pretty
fat.
Pretty good. Yeah.
A little silver lining there, or platinum
You're
lining.
Stacking those
or nickel lining, for that matter.
That cloud is going to come crashing.
Kablamchico, there it was.
For this episode, we began a new book, The Fires of Heaven, and we read the prologue and first 6 chapters of the book. So since we'll be starting a new book, we'll first begin our discussion with the title page, where we will discuss the title and what we think it means for our upcoming reading. And then we'll discuss the plot of these chapters in View from Dragonmount. It's then time to bleach our hair and shave slits into our eyebrows as we discuss the Aes Sedai and Aes Aes Baby. And then move on to our more dangerous channelers in Forsake Me Not before getting a feel for our story savior / destroyer in Get Randy. And then we'll wrap up, as always, with our Coplin of the week and Who Leveled Up.
I thought you said shave slits into our eye, like our
eyes?
Eyeballs. Yeah.
Yes, shave
I
slits
did not like
into our eyeballs with paper.
We have a lot of Event Horizon moments in these readings.
Oh, yeah. No, we're not going to do any of that stuff. Let's talk about this title for a little bit here. So the title of this book is called The Fires of Heaven. So we just got out of the Shadow Rising, where... Did it feel like there were any more new problems than there had been in any of the previous books? Did it feel like the conflict heightened at all in the Shadow Rising?
Sorry, I think in the sense that it seemed like there were more evil key figures that had that we knew of what their actions were.
Yeah, we got more of the people that we knew. More of them came out more strongly, I think. So maybe not that there was more of them, but we got more of them.
Okay, yeah. So an increase in volume, if not quality.
Yeah.
Well, also, just specifically that their homeland was attacked. It seems like it's going to be the Shadow has a larger footprint or what have you. They have a bigger reach, and the fact that it took over their own homeland, that's a big deal.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. So an increase in scope
the
too.
Reach, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So an aptly named title.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So now we're moving on to The Fires of Heaven.
I have no idea what that means.
Nobody.
I have a guess that we have balefire described.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay.
That seems a very foreboding thing with the information that we were given about that. So
I like to think it's more of a Slayer reference, like Rain and Blood. It's the fires of heaven. Literally, we're going to have fire raining down from
heaven. And by Slayer, you don't mean our Luke friend. You mean the actual
I mean the
band.
Yes.
I would love to listen to some Slayer and read this.
I'm
going to do that.
We know.
Tomorrow.
I think Manowar is probably more fitting, but yes.
We know that Aes Sedai can throw fire, so I'm imagining some serious fire being thrown. Not balefire, which to me seems like a nice, clean line.
Yeah, it's like a laser.
I imagine a more ragged flamethrower in the air, like the heavens burning is never a good thing for those of us down here on Earth.
It's like in the Two Rivers when they were launching the catapults, the flaming catapults.
Yeah. Yep. We are flaming dragon.
Right, flaming dragon.
So fire can be cleansing though as well.
Right.
Do you think
I don't know.
we're purging the heavens here?
Well, it could
There
be
be
falling down
demons
and-
in the heavens?
It could be falling down and purging the shadow that is rising.
That shadow has already risen.
I know. Well, so
I hope it
peak
would
shadow?
be a purging
Yeah.
fire from
the
heaven, but
shadow can go no higher.
Right. It raises no farther.
I think we need a purging of the White Tower with how this book starts out. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, we need the purging of everything. Okay.
So let's talk about these chapters here. So chapter 1, the
Or the
prologue,
prologue is
the
it? Yeah.
first sparks of fall, which had the little wheel of time glyph, which is a sure sign that we're going to get a whole lot of plot usually for this. So it's been 2 months since Eliaida took over the tower, and now she's holding a meeting there in the Amerlin's chambers.
Apparently
Robert
not been a
Jordan's
good
like-
2 months.
It seems Eliaida, our big winner of last book, is losing control of her inner circle already 2 months in.
If she ever really had control.
But
to
she is
begin with.
planning a reckoning. There will be an Eliaida reckoning, she keeps saying to herself, and it seems like it's specifically aimed at Alviarin. We've got a lot of information that gets discussed here in this prologue. And Daya mentions, in addition to Elaine missing, Galad, they don't know where Galad is. We suspect he's off with the White Cloaks, but no one really knows, right?
No, I think that's what we
Galad?
said
Yeah.
might be. I don't know where.
No
he
one
is.
knows where that guy is.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's
We don't even know where he is.
Right, we suspect
Yeah.
he's with the Children of the Light. We
Yeah.
last
He's looking good wherever he is, though.
saw him
He is
flirting
looking
with
good.
them in a bar.
Yeah,
But-
that would be as good of a guess as any. But if we don't
He's
know
still-
and they don't know, that's
He's
even
still
more.
drinking one sip of wine, hanging out with people, and talking at a bar.
He's
Right.
drinking wine spritzers in the bar and hanging out with White Cloaks.
I think he's actually he's doing like a shot glasses of water while they're doing vodka.
Right.
He's
yeah,
And
he found.
he's the girl in the corner who keeps going, I'm so drunk right now. You
Yeah.
don't even know I'm drunk right now.
You were that person in the corner.
I don't think so. They also mentioned that they don't really feel like they have control over Gawain either. He's leading these younglings and just kind of seems to have his own mission. So
Yeah,
there's
but
that
Alvirin
problem.
said that Gawain will be brought under control.
He's a
Whatever that
Turkand,
means.
and as we've seen from Elaine, that's no easy feat.
I mean, it's easy.
If he's
to
got any
say.
sort of temperament like Elaine does, good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to work real well, I don't think.
It's easy to say you're going to bring him under control. It's another thing to actually achieve it. They've got a red in disguise in Camelin. Her disguise ain't so good. Morghese is putting forward her claim on the Sun Throne in Cairien. That's something I didn't see coming. So she fancies herself an emperor. She's going to rule.
Morghese?
Yeah, she's going to rule
Well,
multiple
do we know that
realms.
Morghese is making her own decisions at this point?
No, we suspect she is not.
Yeah, so kind of makes sense.
Fair point. Javindra has a clerk forging letters from Elaine to Morghese.
Yeah.
So
What
what
are-
a strange choice.
What are those letters? What are those letters like?
I'm here hanging out.
Dear
Mama
Mama.
sucks as normal.
No, but seriously, this woman knows how to forge her writing. Does she know her voice? Does she know what Elaine sounds like to her mom?
Is that a talent? Forging, is that a talent of the tower?
It's a talent Tom has, right? Is it a
You're
channeling
just born
talent?
with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The penmanship.
Right.
You'd have never known.
Oh man, yeah. We'll see how long.
I would actually love to read those letters. I
Yes!
wish that I wish that
The
Bobby had
forged
written
letters,
them.
yeah.
Letters from camp.
It'd be like Pride and Prejudice. It'd be those letters.
I don't see that ruse lasting very long. Danelle mentions that Pedron Niall is conducting secret negotiations to convince
Yeah.
Altara and Murundi to cede land to Ilion and keep
Yeah.
the Council of Nine from invading.
Do we have any idea why that would be happening?
First of all, let's start out that the whole purpose of this is to keep Ilion from invading. And who do we know is in control of Ilion?
Samael.
Yeah. So good luck.
Okay, yeah.
Good intentions. You're well intentioned, That is fraught with peril because you're trying to manipulate around a Forsaken and preventing them from trying to take land. Probably not going to happen. So that's not going to end well for any of the parties included, specifically Niall, right? Because if he's the only thing that he has going for him is that these are secret negotiations. So maybe if they don't,
how secret are they?
Well,
I mean,
right. The White Tower knows.
We
but
we know about it, but these are the higher
we
ups,
know.
so, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. No one else
knows.
Most people can't.
We're in the inside track.
So Eliaida's tower and even Swan is afraid of the growing power of the Children of the Light now. So there's that mention that they want to be careful with what they're doing, with interfering with Niall, because they don't want to upset the Children of the Light because they're at their door. The wolves are at their door, so to speak. And then Eliaida makes the observation, great, now we're afraid of the Children of the Light. The tower has been around for thousands of years, and for the first time ever, I'm in control of the one that's afraid of the Children of the Light.
Well, they do have
bad timing.
orgies.
Yeah, it's bad timing.
Sorry, Eliaida.
Whoops. Maybe that's partially her fault.
I think it is partially her fault.
Right. She weakened the tower right at the time when the balances of power were in the weighing.
I'm confused by her in general because she's trying to get Rand under control. They want to have him be under control, but that's what Moraine was trying to do to begin with.
Well, two different methodologies of doing it.
But
sure, but
both
it's
based on distrust of him being. Now, she doesn't trust Rand because she doesn't trust Rand's ability to self-sacrifice. She thinks Rand is too selfish to sacrifice himself for the world. That's the reason why she doesn't trust him.
She who are we referring to?
Eliaida.
Oh. Well,
And-
it's also categorized by the fact that she's a red and she doesn't trust men at all.
Well, that being aside, because that's been a generalization we've been well aware of up to this point. Here, we specifically learned the true source of her distrust, which is she doesn't think that he would be prepared to set. She thinks that that there's no way in heck that this guy is going to sacrifice himself for the world. She doesn't trust him to do that.
She is still trying to make him her puppet.
Well, that's the reason why she wants to make him a puppet, is she wants to chain him up until the moment of sacrifice is required, and then she wants to put him on the altar.
I don't think that's that much different than Moraine.
I think the
It
difference
isn't the
is
same-
more subtle than we might think. Yes, I agree with you, Adam. She doesn't trust Rand either. The difference
but
is
it's
she
just
doesn't want
funny
to
that she got
chain
people
Rand up to do it.
So
Moraine doesn't trust Rand because of the actions that Rand is doing.
I think Moraine inherently is distrustful of most people. I think she, because of the amount of knowledge she has, thinks she feels like she's more informed than most people, so in a better position to make a decision. I don't think that, I mean, I think we've seen Rand make a lot of really good decisions.
sure, but apart from let's get back to Eliaida.
I think Rand's made a lot
and
of decisions
Swan.
that have turned out to be good. I don't know that he went into them with the right intention going about them.
Well, but I mean, all we have to do to judge a decision by well, most of what we can judge a decision by is its outcome. I would agree with you that some bad decisions still end up coming out good. What were you saying about Eliaida, Adam?
I was just saying the difference between Eliaida and Swan. Eliaida got Swan kicked out, but she's, like I was saying before, she's trying to do the same thing Swan was trying to do, and that's basically put a leash around this dragon.
Right. The difference is Eliaida would put a physical leash around Rand. I don't think Swan would have done that. Swan's methods were far more subtle.
Okay.
They were nudging.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they both absolutely viewed the importance of their Amerlin ship on how they succeeded with Rand. And they both want to control Rand for sure to get him to Tarmangaiden. I agree with you, Adam, that neither of them seem to trust Rand.
Yeah. I just think, I mean, it's politics. I guess it's just how it works out.
No, to David's point, there is a huge difference between not trusting somebody and sending an advisor into their midst like C-3PO and Jabba the Hutt versus putting a leash around Rand like Jabba the Hutt and Princess Leia.
There definitely is a difference.
Not only that, if Eliaida had known that Rand could have channeled way back in the day, she would have stilled him.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, absolutely, because she didn't know he was a dragon. So she would have just assumed he's a man who can channel and would have done what Reds do, and then the world would have been screwed because of her.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
That's right.
Narrow focus.
Myopia. Yeah. But that's no longer her purpose. She's not going to try to still.
I'm just saying it speaks to her character in general.
It speaks to her lack of perspective. Hey, Masima has popped up again. He's in Gildan, and he's got massive amounts of people coming to see him now.
Yeah, he has a following.
Eliaida dismisses the meeting after having berated one of the accepted that's come in to tell her of her new meeting that is just around the corner.
Well, not only that, she gives the other Aes Sedai penance. Once again, we're seeing consistent behaviors of her being a tyrant. We've seen it all along.
She's a rotten person.
Now she's doing it to her own people that are supporting her.
Well, how supportive did those people really seem in this meeting?
Probably for good reason, because they realized they put the wrong person in charge.
I think they would have rather been in charge.
Well, my reading on it was they had the right person in charge, somebody that they thought that they could manipulate.
If anyone ever thought they could manipulate Eliaida, there's something crackpot with that person.
Well, I mean, I think Alviarin clearly thinks that she's in charge. That's the other interesting thing that we get from this meeting. First of all, she knows about where the Reds' eyes and ears, or what's going on with the Reds. She knows they planted that girl in Camelin.
Alviarin knows a lot because she was in on the get-go with, and she's obviously got dirt on Eliaida. I'm guessing there's something there, because why would you act that way when you're just the keeper?
It seems to me what's going on here is, and this happens a lot anytime there's a coup, you have this group of people who made it happen, and they all know that they've essentially done something illicit. So they do have something on Eliaida. Because she doesn't really belong there, and they all know it, and they are relying on Eliaida to know it, and so they do have some control in this situation. And Elida's biggest struggle here seems to be to regain control, and so that's the only way that she has to do it is to put the smackdown on somebody, to make an example out of somebody, and then she clearly signals to us, the reader, that she intends to systematically continue to do this until she gets them all in line. Well, I think it's practical. It's in her position. She needs to do something in order to gain. She needs to gain hand.
She does.
I don't think that's the way that's going to work. I mean,
you're
taking a brick of metal and you're breaking it. That's
so. The first couple of months have not been good for Eliaida, and now she has this meeting with her old friend. He's back again. After his brief, what did he say? He was going to take a brief detour in Camelin before heading north to Tarvalon.
Yeah,
and here he is.
2 months, so I guess.
I wonder what he did in Camelin.
Tarvalon.
It takes a long time to get.
Do you think he's traveling?
It does, and it's only been 2 months.
Right, so he traveled quickly.
Traveling
he couldn't have spent very long.
He could be traveling the ways.
He could be traveling the way.
There's probably a way gate in Camelin.
There is, but he would have
Loyal
to get to
broke.
Camelin.
Right, and he would have to. Well, maybe there's another way gate somewhere. I don't know. He could have taken a month to get to Camelin and then used the way gate from Camelin to Tarvalon.
Yeah, I wonder what he did in Camelin.
Yeah, I wonder too, because he said he was going to make a brief stop there. Probably slaughtered some people.
I mean, he couldn't have done
just for grins.
He couldn't have done much there. So there's a meeting with Thane.
A meeting without Alviarin, we might add.
She gets booted because
There's
Eliaida is
struggle
highly
right there.
Suspicious of her.
You think it's that she's highly suspicious, or she just is, just flexing her authority?
Both. So she meets with Cain. She thinks Thane is a fool, but
sure, that's what he's always going for.
A fool, right? But she thinks that he can be useful. How those two things coincide, I don't know.
I don't see it ending well. I mean,
no,
this guy's like
for who, really? I mean, because usually the
evil.
person it doesn't end well for is Thane, right? That's the conclusion we've reached up to this point.
He always lives.
He always lives.
People around him don't.
Podden had one really bad experience. Other than that, he's just had disappointments. It's been fine.
Yeah, he gets out of it.
But that one really bad
behind
experience really set him on his way to get rammed.
Right. Yeah.
It was a pivotal moment in his life.
Yeah. So the scene shifts to Camelin, where Lady Altima is arriving. So apparently she's just hightailed it out of Tyr. She was told to go to Kyrian, remember?
Yeah, she seems to
and oversee the food, the distribution of the food in Kyrian to the poor.
She doesn't listen very well.
So she just flaunted that directive from Rand. And now she's going to try to curry favor with the queen and get into her good graces so that she can find herself a nice little lord there that she can manipulate in Camelin instead. She finds a lord.
The wrong one.
Well, maybe. We'll see. She
Well,
finds
it's gonna be the wrong one for her.
It's not a guy she can manipulate.
No.
It's the other way around.
Yeah.
Things don't really end up all that well for her. And then it appears that Lanfear is helping the Forsaken entrap Rand, or she is buying more time for Rand. What is Lanfear's game? That's
what everyone's wondering.
Our segment about Lanfear needs to move away from Selene Stealer and more to a game show title, because I don't know what is going on here.
Well, she doesn't want anyone to know what her true intentions are. She's on every side and no side but her own.
What's my game?
What? Press your luck. Starring Lanfear.
You're all gonna lose.
That's
I
right.
do feel like I honestly
Nobody
feel like
wins.
it really
Starring
seems like
Lanfear.
she is buying time for Rand.
That's what I think she's doing. It seems like she's sort of soft shoeing the old Forsaken there, and just keeping them on their heels while she tries to buy time for Rand so that she and Rand can rule in infamy. We head into chapter 1, fanning the sparks. So the sparks were falling, and now they're being fanned. This is the first chapter of the book. It has a lion as the sigil, so that's the symbol for Camelin. The world is in autumn. So the very first time we saw kind of a description of the world at the beginning of the Eye of the World, it was in spring, but it wasn't spring, it was winter.
It was springtime, but it was still winter.
Right.
Yeah.
Now here in the 5th book, we're in an autumn of decay, it seems like. It's not like a nice, beautiful, hey, the leaves are turning autumn. This is like, and the dust and the ground was dry and the leaves were dead and they made crunching sounds under people's feet like bones crackling. That's the type of autumn we seem to be in.
I don't want to be walking on bones crackling.
I don't either, but that seems to be the autumn that these people are heading into in
It's
Westland.
like the beginning of Terminator 2.
Right, yes, that a machine is rolling over the ground and there are dead bones just being crushed underneath it. So here we are in Core Springs.
It's not a good place to be right now.
Well, it's fine if you don't burn down a barn.
By accident.
Right, by accident. There are escapees from the tower are in Admiral Nem's barn for the night. He comes in the morning to check on what's going on in the barn and discovers 3 stowaways. One of them knocks him on the head.
Clonks him on the noggin.
The lantern goes down, and we've got not turkey in the straw, but fire in the straw.
No, then we have an O'Leary moment, and the barn goes up in flames.
Yet, fortunately, the rest of the town of Core Springs doesn't go up, just Mr. Nem's barn.
Yeah, and his cows.
And his cows. And apparently, somehow in the mix, his wife's money got stolen.
Yeah, somehow
by Taim.
He wanders in and
that's where I buried your inheritance.
Right, yes, exactly. I had $50,000 worth of trinkets under there. My jewelry was under the barn.
Oh, and my friends.
My
friend Darlene. I forgot she came over yesterday. Darlene dropped off
a sack of gold.
Some coin.
Yeah.
Right.
Darlene.
She dropped off all my turquoise jewelry.
Oh, it's turquoise. That's not even worth that much.
I know.
But it sure do look pretty.
It was all buried there under the barn. So there's a trial going on to trial Swan, Min, and Lyanna, and Logain, right?
Logain isn't there.
Logain is with them, but he has absconded.
He made off.
I think, Logain took off.
Yep, he left them.
He's a
alert.
smart one.
I'm not dealing with
Well,
this.
he's the most fleet of foot, and it seems like being the guy who knocked the dude who just came through the door, he was also closest to the door.
Yeah.
So he ran. Not the bravest of moves.
No.
But the smartest.
Definitely the smartest of moves for him.
Yeah, it depends on your vantage point.
Well, I mean, not
He
for
can't
nothing, but
channel
he is
anymore.
probably wanted to be killed by all sorts of people. If
Yeah.
they found out
If
who
they
he
would
was.
recognize him, I mean, word doesn't travel really fast here. These people have just learned what happened in Tyr, and that was like a book ago.
Well, I hope that they don't see him writing anything down because everybody has a town that can recognize handwriting. Every town has a person.
There's a master forger.
Every town, right. It's the Forgers Guild.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. That's Logain.
Right.
Dear mother.
Leon's solution to get out of this trial is just to put on a bunch of makeup and flirt with everyone.
I like her solution.
I don't think she's necessarily putting makeup on. She just is.
She puts some on, but she puts them on enough that you wouldn't be able to see that she had put some on.
Right. She knows how.
She's a master.
She knows how to move those hips, though. And
she does. Leanne confesses to Swan that
It's Liana.
You're right. It is Liana.
Why do you keep calling her Leanne?
I am using different pronunciations for everything, Adam, in case you can't tell. I can't keep them straight.
You're throwing us off.
I know you can't.
Swan has this mission. Liana says that whatever her purpose is, it's not enough for her. She needs to flirt with men. That is her purpose.
Well, all Liana is speaking about in general is revenge. Like, the revenge isn't enough for her.
She's reliving her high school dreams.
I mean, sounds like a good time.
She's rejoining the Pom Squad.
Apparently she's really good at it.
And then in comes Gareth Bryn, who last we saw as the champion of swords, prince of swords, head of swords, the sword guy.
He had
about
4 or 5. He had 4 or 5 swords.
He had a number of crests. So he's back. And he is now a judge at the old family farm. He's getting back to his roots.
What reason did he get sent away for?
I don't know. Ravine probably said something to Morgaze, and then she was like, "You're out of here." He oversees this trial, and he is wise enough to see through the fact that probably shouldn't leave these women with this man and his wife. Right? Not a good idea.
No, I wouldn't want to.
Or any other men around the area.
So instead, he's going to have them work on his manor until they earn the money back to pay for a barn and several cows. Yeah, several cattle.
Gotta get that coin. Well, and the missing wealth. No, that isn't actually accounted for.
They want to find out how much money this is. So there's still the possibility that they also need to pay this coin back as well.
How long do you think it would take them to actually earn back this money?
I'm thinking years.
Yeah, several
years. They have to buy a barn on servants' wages?
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
I know, but are you putting it at like 5 or 10?
I'm putting it at 7.
I was putting it at 3 to 5.
Okay, right there. Shooting the difference.
That's right. Yeah,
just I would right in there.
No, I would put it around 5. I was thinking 3 to 5 years if that's all their money is going toward. If they don't have to pay for their living expenses or their food or anything like that, which it doesn't seem like they would have to.
7 years, bad luck. Okay.
It's 5 years of not a good time. So that's why Swan decides, well, the easiest way I can get out of this is to make the strongest oath possible and then break it. So they make the strong oath, and I love the mind reading that Liana does when she realizes why Swan gives such a ridiculous oath. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm down. All right, I'll pledge that oath too, because who cares? We're Aes Aes. We don't keep our word about anything."
Yeah.
And then Min is just sitting there as like the person who actually wants to say what she means, and she's like, okay, I'm going to make this really strong oath, which if I break, my head's going to set on fire. And I really think we're going to break this oath.
But it turns out, from according to everyone's perspective, they're really not going to break that
oath.
oath.
Right. Yeah. The equivocations that Swan goes through in order to allow herself the possibility of not breaking this oath.
I don't believe she's going to break her oath.
I don't either. We'll see what Gareth Bryn, if he ever catches up to them, thinks.
So we also have Min there.
She sees once again the halo above
Logain. He pops back into the scene.
Yeah,
he clonks some people on the noggin.
He did steal that money.
He stole the money. He clonked someone else on the head. He's a head clonker. He is a head clonker. He leaves the driver alive though. That servant of Admiral Nim. That takes us to chapter 2, Rydien. So it's been a month since the end of Shadow Rising and Rydien. The Angreal and Rydien are being loaded onto carts by Kadir's men under the instruction of Moiraine and taken off to Tar Valon. That's what they were there for, right?
They were holding
Seems
him
like
until
it.
the Aes Sedai came and took him. So now the Aes Sedai are coming and taking him. Rand meets with the clan chiefs and discusses the flight of the Aiel. So there's something not good going on. So as a bunch of Aiel fled the moment that Rand made the declaration that you're all pacifists and you've turned your backs on your history.
Those cowardly snakes.
And now
I
they're
love that line.
slowly sneaking off. They're like looking around.
I love this line.
And then
Cowardly
running into
snakes, stink adders wriggling away from their own shadows.
And who says that?
Jiran.
So they're furtively looking around and waiting for nobody to be looking, and then they're running off into the desert.
Don't mind me. Fast as fast can be. You'll never catch me.
And unfortunately, some of them are running to the Shaido. And this is part of the breaking of the Aiel is this. Some of these people are sneaking off. Some of them are staying. But everybody's on the lookout now for these weird, these Aiel with the weird look in their eye. It's almost like they're looking for people with COVID. Is your temperature high? What's your temperature? They're walking around with those little scanners and holding them up to everybody's forehead.
Don't worry,
I
Derek.
feel my temperature rising. Cause your
Derek.
kisses lift me higher.
Stop.
This is muchness.
You brought it up, buddy. So they've also discussed when the other clans are going to join Rand.
Yeah, it's called Derek. We'll bring them back.
Okay.
He's asking. Rand is asking
That's the note
what
I
he
have
has to
written
do-
down here. It says
what he has
Derek.
to do to bring rain to them, and then he's told Derek will bring them.
Derek, yeah.
And he doesn't bother to ask who is this
Derek.
Derek?
Derek.
Who is he, and why is he bringing some all back to me?
What is his name?
Moiraine has found the sixth seal we have seen in the Angreal of Rhydian.
The seventh seal.
And it's flaky. It's got dandruff.
Like a cracker.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It is not using Head and Shoulders. And if it doesn't watch out for itself, it's going to flake away. Moiraine tries to get Rand to follow her guidance. And Rand reveals to Moiraine that he plans to take the 11 clans of the Aiel over the mountain and bring peace to Westland.
Peace through violence.
Moiraine thinks Swan has already begun negotiating with the nations to ally them with Rand. Ooh, rude awakening.
Yeah.
And Egwene stays back to talk to Rand.
Wait.
Rand realizes that he and Egwene are farther apart than ever, and she tells him Elaine has told her she loves him. So we finally get the letters. We finally get into the love letter and the apparently
totally
hate letter
contradictory.
here, right? Yeah, which is kind of what we felt. I mean, Elaine was totally beating herself over the head over these two contradictory letters. So that's chapter 2. Chapter 3, Pale Shadows, with the little dice symbol here, so we know we're going to get us some Matt. So Rand talks to Asmodean of Sidon and Sidar, and Rand is growing in his power. Matt drinks and gambles with the Aiel and Kadir and his men. And then Melindra introduces herself to Matt. And Melindra and Matt have themselves a good time.
Yeah, she accepts his offer when Matt gives her some jewelry.
Right, yeah.
I think there was some willow shaking that went on.
There certainly was. I'm not sure Matt realized what he was doing when he gave her that gift, but she made it quite clear to him exactly what happened.
Natale brings up to Rand again that men can't link without women, but women can do it on their own.
Rand comes in and talks to Matt for a little bit while he's out there gambling with the men by the fountain.
Don't trust Kadir.
Chapter 4, Twilight. That's a
terrible book
U2
series.
song that nobody else is going to get. Spears and bucklers, more with the Aiel. So Rand goes to his rooms. Avienta enters and gives Rand a dragon buckle. So she gives him a big old truck driver buckle that looks like a dragon.
Yeah, she got someone else to make it.
Well, it's all her. It's
made out of her weapons.
Her weaponry and
Yeah,
stuff.
the wise ones made her dismantle her weapons and make them and give them away as trinkets. Ugh, these.
Yeah,
Man.
she went to old Bojob. Said, "Hey, make me that best trucker."
Went to
buckle.
who?
Things remembered. I don't know what you're talking about, Adam. I don't know who Bojob
It sounds a lot like
or
you were saying
Bojack
something else.
So she goes to Things Remembered and has something engraved for Rand, and then she gives it to him, and it's a giant belt buckle. And Rand is like, I don't really wear Western suits, but thanks.
He's like, I'll get my cowboy boots.
Right. And I'll do some line dancing this weekend.
We're going to go to Saddle Up.
Right.
And we're going to have a grand old time.
Yep.
At the Opry.
I haven't been on a blind date in a long time, but sure, what the heck?
Yeah.
Rand thinks to himself that it's strange that he can trust a Forsaken more than Moraine. So at this point, he's trusting Natale more than Moraine, which is very odd.
I don't think that's a good start.
No, that's not.
It's definitely not a good start.
We all know that I am not on Team Moraine, but I am definitely not on Team Natale.
That's really dangerous.
Yes.
I want to say at this point that Aviendha says to Rand that she hates him with all of her heart and always will. And then also just all these Bobby Jordan nudie moments with Asundra.
Oh, yeah. Well, and also Aviendha's got this new necklace that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And Rand does not like it.
Oh.
Rand does not like it at all.
He is jealous about it.
He is. Why is he jealous? What's
Well,
that about?
He's starting to figure out why he's jealous. Yeah, he's processing.
I don't think he is actually figuring it out. I just think he knows that he's experiencing it.
He's feeling some things.
He's kind of like me.
It's this tingling. So that moves us on to chapter 5, Among the Wise Ones. So it appears the bleakness is affecting Gaishain as well as others. Some are refusing to leave the White Robe after their year and a day. Egwene is then summoned to the sweat tent and takes her precious time getting there. Moiraine is talking to the Wise Ones of Rand's plans and trying to convince them to interfere and prevent Rand's taking the Aiel over the Dragon Wall and suppressing and ruling over the entirety of Westland under one great foreign invasion, which always goes well. Egwene agrees with Moiraine, not Rand, the guy she grew up with. Well, I agree with Moiraine, so there's that.
Yeah.
I usually tend to, yeah.
Nobody agrees with this. Nobody's cool with this plan of Rand's. Aviendha is told now to spend the night in Rand's room.
That poor girl.
I agree.
Amis is asking whether or not it would be okay.
Right. If it's
Amis
socially
is asking
acceptable.
Egwene if it's okay.
Right.
And Egwene is kind of like, well, I think it's fine.
No.
And then she's also getting hit with information about Lysandra going into there. So
do you think it really matters if Amis is asking if it's socially acceptable or not? She's going to do it anyhow. She's going to have her do it anyhow.
Well, no. If it's going to cause a problem, because part of what they want is they want to make sure that Rand gets along with Aviendha. So they don't want her doing something that's going to put Rand's hackles up.
His hackles are already up.
His hackles are always up.
The bigger problem in this equation is Aviendha, not Rand. Rand is trying to get along with this girl, and she keeps doing stuff to make it tough.
But Aviendha asks Egwene if a woman in her land could be accepted as a sister wife.
Right.
Why would she be asking that?
Yeah.
Well,
she's coming to Elaine and going, I have a friend who is interested in Rand.
Well, right, but we still don't have 100% confirmation. We're just supposing that Aviendha really does like her.
We do not. We have no 100% confirmation for that. But it is revealed that she requested that she would get switched because she had lied a certain amount that day. This is why I want to bring up the fact that she said, I hate you with all of my heart and always will.
Mm-hmm.
So she had lied
think the lady
about
does
something.
protest too much.
This could have been something she had lied about that she would have gotten switched over.
Jordan plants a lot of stuff here on Aviendha. She's
acting funny. She forgot the tea.
Darn sure.
She forgot the tea. Her mind was on something else. Right. Everybody looked at her weirdly. Yeah. So it's a lot of this stuff is being pointed out to us that, hey, something's going on with her.
It sure seems like what we've suspected, that Aviendha definitely has a thing for Rand, and she's dealing with the conflict of she's supposed to be holding him for Elaine, essentially, and she has these feelings for him, and now she's darn near apoplectic when they tell her she's got to stay in the same room with him. Now she's got that challenge on top of everything else. I couldn't stand Aviendha up to this point. This is the first time where I felt really bad for her.
If she really likes him, she's in a no-win situation.
Yeah, they put her in a really tough spot, and they know what they're doing. The wise ones know what they're doing.
Well, they're
here.
trying to tie someone of their clan to Rand that he's going to care about.
And they've hinted as much all the way through these
they
chapters.
also are dreamers, some of them. So,
what he's saying is dreaming
because
foretelling. So they could foresee maybe Aviendha and Rand being together.
We learn that Egwene is learning to enter people's dreams. And then Egwene and Aviendha are punished with running 50 laps around the camp for forgetting the tea and arriving too late.
Also naked.
Right, yes. In the nude. We get nude Egwene. And then there's a conversation between Aviendha and Egwene about Giotto.
Right. Which I loved how this chapter closed with that. I loved it showed the example of Elaine living it even though she didn't understand it.
One of the challenges that Egwene, you meant Egwene living it. That's all right. I make that mistake.
Did I say Elaine?
All the time.
Good grief.
Egwene has, Egwene has been struggling to understand Aiel traditions, and this is one that she doesn't understand, and it's a tradition of honor. And essentially what Aviendha points out is you have honor.
Yeah.
You have honor, and you have honor in the way that Aiel do. You simply don't realize it. And Egwene absolutely does. She holds herself to a very high standard. It's just that sometimes
she just has funny ways
what she wants sometimes gets in the way of that.
What else happens in this chapter is that both the wise ones keep telling Egwene and Aviendha, "Hey, you should be more like the other."
Oh, right. Yeah, they're pitting the two girls against each other in order to help their growth.
To drive them, yeah.
So chapter 6, Gateways. Go Gateways! Moon and stars, which means land fear. Rand smells something funny in Rhuidean and goes to the top floor in order to draw that thing, which
he knows there's some evil.
And he wants to draw him away.
We recognize that scent from before because it's been described when they were around before, when they were in. Perrin smelled it.
Perrin smelled them as sulfuric.
Dank and disappearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Rand cuts him down. And then the blood slowly travels across the floor and recongeals into another Darkhound.
How freaky would that be?
So these things have a power.
Also here it's mentioned that Land said Rand is almost good enough to be a Blade Master.
And probably is.
Rand is right. Rand
he probably is.
And he was
he's
so slim. Yeah, he's so slim with his praise that he might be one already. That's freaking crazy. He has all these other powers going on, but he's actually putting the time in to become a Blade Master. That's
Up to this point, he hasn't really been able to practice his powers very much because he hasn't known what the heck to do with them. So all he's really been able to do is practice the sword. Rand then finally defeats them. He uses Balefire, which we've seen.
He doesn't know what the name of it is.
He doesn't know. He's used it once before on Darkhounds, oddly enough. And oddly enough, so has Moiraine on Darkhounds. Moiraine also used it on Balal. But there's something about Darkhounds that just begs for Balefire.
Well, apparently it's the only thing that can kill him. It's literally the only thing that can kill him.
And Nynaeve has used it, not on Darkhounds.
Well, and we learned a whole lot about Balefire.
Not on the Darkhounds. It's just a separate instance. I'm sorry I brought it up. We learned a whole
lot about Balefire, too, and the implications of it is really frightening.
Right, because it erases several hours, minutes, days,
years
of a thing. Well, for amount of time, and the amount of time back into that thing's past that the elimination goes is dependent upon the strength of the Balefire. You can shoot a little tiny twig-sized Balefire. You can shoot a giant column, sized Balefire at some thing.
Rand's use of Balefire, he's the strongest there is, so he's going to be...
But even in this one, like it mentions, after he uses it the first time, the next time he uses a much thinner blade of it because of what it did.
And also for control.
You can kill something with a smaller version of Balefire, so therefore it won't completely eliminate that past.
It will, but it's how many minutes how much time into the past it eliminates along with it.
Right, like I wonder when she erased Balal, that was probably a significant amount, and I wonder what chain that undid.
So then
but the Forsaken they're scared of using it.
Right.
Because they used it
who knows what
uncontrolled before, and it almost unraveled their entire history. So they were just out gallivanting using Balefire. Kill this, kill that, sprinkle a little death here, a little death there with Balefire.
I guess it's like using salt.
Right, exactly. That's how they were using it. And then all of a sudden, they were like, hey.
Yeah, but if you use salt the right way, then it would be fine.
Yeah, unless you salt everything, and then you hate all the food you're eating.
Well, then you get a heart attack.
Then you die.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
See? Too much of something,
Okay.
not good.
So what you're talking about, Adam, the Darkhound that slathers on Matt and gets the fluid on him.
Right, totally.
The
I just
elimination
figured
of that was a good thing.
Right, exactly.
I just figured that was an elimination of that Darkhound. We should go back in this Darkhound's history and learn about its family
Right, yeah.
and
Well,
who he left behind.
But this gives us this cool moment of finding out that Matt's got this. We finally know what this fox-head medallion is.
Yes.
And how cool is that?
We do.
Protects him from the power.
Moiraine goes up to him and is like, "Bing!
Let me
I'm
heal.
gonna
Be
heal you."
healed.
And then nothing happens. Except Matt's like, "Oh, this thing is so cold on my chest." And Moiraine's like,
that's
get
not
rid
what
of
happened.
that. Matt says
Matt
it's cold.
says-
No.
And she's like, "If it's cold, take it off."
Yeah.
She's aware
She
of
knows,
the fact
yes.
that if it's cold, you should take it
Yeah,
off.
she's a smart cookie.
She's aware
She's
that
very
telling
smart.
him because it's cold, take it off, will allow him to take it off without her having to explain to him exactly
And
what it
Matt's
is
also
going to allow to
not
happen.
wearing a whole lot at that time, so there's not much else it's going to be.
No,
So we know what Matt's spear is. We know
everything, right? We've
We've
learned
got the
all
answer to
three of
all-
the things that were bestowed on him.
Yeah. So
through
that's
the red
the
door.
thing to keep the Aes Sedai away, I guess.
Well, it keeps people from being able to channel on him.
Yeah.
So yes, he said, "I want to be rid of Aes Sedai and their bloody channeling."
Yeah.
I don't think he said bloody because
Yeah.
bloody isn't used here.
Well,
So
he
now
says
he
bloody a lot.
has. So Rand returns to his room.
Good on Rand though. With all the nonsense that Matt is,
tired.
with all that nonsense that Matt is always giving him, like, "Are you going crazy?" Rand is like, "Hey, lay off the medallion. That's
Right.
his."
Yeah.
So Rand returns pooped to his room.
He'd be tired.
He checks on the sangreal and its little hidey hole there. And just as he's doing that, who should appear but our favorite Forsaken, Lady Lanfear.
I like seeing her whenever she shows up.
Boy,
Dude,
for having her sigil on this chapter, she's not in it a lot.
no, she's not.
No.
But she's in these first 6 chapters a lot.
Yeah.
She's checking in on everyone. She is the baker with her fingers in everybody's pie. She sees the terangreal that controls the sangreal.
Not good.
So now she knows Rand has it, which is not good. I was really hoping Rand was going to be able to keep that a secret from her. That's problematic.
And we find out who she lets loose that bit of information about who sent the Darkhounds after him. That Ravine sent them.
Ravine, right. I mean, she's there giving Rand additional information as she's done up to this point, and then she leaves, after a knock at the door, and Rand is summoned to meet with the clan chiefs.
Well, now she also drops the other bombshell. Oh, by the way, Ravine's controlling Morghese.
Right, so Rand is aware of another Forsaken now in control
Big
of
deal.
another territory.
And controlling the mother of the woman who is in love with him.
Yeah.
Rourke returns and tells him the Shaido are heading to Cairien via the Jengai Pass, and the other clan chiefs are also on the move to join Rand. And Rand decides, you know what? I can't wait for these people to arrive. I'm taking y'all over the mountains. We're gonna conquer Westland.
Over the mountain.
Wagons ho! And that's where we wrap up these 6 chapters. So, Adam, what shook your willow?
My willow was really pointed in the direction of the fact that Rand dreamed again of Elaine, Min, and Avienda. So
Yeah.
Min had mention of these 3 women before, and it really seems like it's these 3.
Well, yeah. I mean, now, especially with the stuff we're getting into with Avienda, I would have never have added her into these 3 until this moment.
No, yeah.
I think I've been doing it for probably about half.
I've been wondering
of the
about
last
I've been
book, maybe a
wondering
quarter.
about it for a while,
Wondering.
but
That's a good word.
but now we have evidence of the fact that Rand is actually dreaming about Avienda.
Yes.
Right.
And Min and Elaine.
So we
it
have
seems
his
like these are
female
the 3 women.
trilogy.
Maybe or maybe not. Who knows? Maybe it's going to be like the wheel, and one of them will get kicked out.
In all his references to Min, though, it seems very sisterly.
Rand is very confused about women in general. What shook my willow this week was the dude who falls through the red doorway up to his waist. So
Is he fine?
he is,
I guess, yeah.
but
That'd be disturbing.
Kadir has his men helping out Moiraine load these terangreal onto these wagons, and this doorway doesn't move Like it only stays in one position and they're trying to move it and some dude falls. Can you imagine being that guy? Like you barely believe in superpowers and all of a sudden you go through this thing and you're looking into a totally different world and there are probably some of those Fox people staring back at you.
I was wondering, like, did they instantly show up and we're like, do you have implements of iron?
Yeah.
Can you make a
are
fire?
we told that he went head first?
Yes, he went head first.
Are you going to sing to us?
And they're
Make
wearing
music?
skin.
Yeah.
They're wearing
And then he gets
these
yanked back.
girdles
So
of
then he
skin.
wonders, did I actually just see that?
Right, he's gotta be questioning his sanity at this point, the poor guy.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, everyone's like, which way did he go? Which way did he go? Yeah.
What is your price? Do you have any implements of iron? Have you brought any instruments with you?
Yes.
Like, I'm just a guy who carries the
Oh,
Terangrial.
I was getting me home, mommy, please.
Oh my gosh, the poor guy. So I was just laughing at that so hard.
Oh, man.
And then he comes back out and it was like, hey, what happened? We lost you for a second there.
Yeah.
You won't believe what I just saw.
That'd be weird. Mine is the first appearance of our Jack of the Shadows podcast name.
Oh, where did this name come from?
Yes, well, now we know. Now we know because we'll drink the wine till the cup is dry. We'll kiss the girls so they'll not cry, and toss the dice until we fly to dance with Jack of the Shadows.
Dance with the Jack of the Shadows,
And then
baby.
one of the guys is like, hey, you shouldn't be singing that song. It's about death.
And Matt's like, that's right.
That's
Death is my maiden.
That's right. I dance with death every day.
Yeah.
What do you do for fun, buddy?
Yeah.
You just fall into Terangrial.
Yeah.
You don't even spend a whole
I
couple of
traversed
hours
through
in there.
them not once, but
That's right.
twice.
Yeah. I hung out with those people.
I say it like John Lovitz.
I
did
had
it not
beers
once,
with
but
them.
twice.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Would you
see?
believe?
I did.
Yeah, so we finally see the song of that inspired the name of our podcast.
Yeah.
Here for Jack of the Shadows.
I feel like it really should have happened much sooner than this, or I felt like it did,
No
but it actually
kidding.
didn't.
That was a conversation from a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move from Jack of the Shadows to the White Tower and discuss what we know about these Aes Sedai now after an entire chapter, a very long prologue was dedicated to them. So we still don't know exactly what the mechanisms were that Eliaida went through in order to overthrow Swan.
She barely met the letter of the law, whatever it was.
But we know that these women in...
I think she just sat around talking to some of these people that she knew, and she was like, hey, should we do this? And they were saying, hey, yeah, we should.
I
Lots
think
of
she
coffee.
probably browbeat him.
You think there was lots of coffee involved, Adam?
I don't think coffee has ever been mentioned in this book.
I think that's what calf
It'd be
is.
called calf.
Yes.
Calf.
Those people are not drinking calf. That is a
Maybe
Sean
they
Chan
are.
joke.
Sean
A
Chan.
Sean Chan drink.
Maybe they
And-
absconded some.
And the people of Westland found it a little too strong. For
They're
their
like, oh
liking.
no, not another kablamchico.
Much
and
like
their calf.
Much like the people
We can't
of
do it again.
America and England find the coffees
The
of the
Earl
Middle
Grey.
East a little bit too strong. So you think tea, Adam? Is that what you're saying? They were drinking tea and having chats over tea and crumpets.
No, I'm done with my discussions about people drinking tea, and I am under the calf. They were drinking calf.
I don't know
mentioned
what
that,
they were
Wagon
discussing, but
Toe.
I do have a feeling that she was like, you're going to do this.
With Alviarin, I think that she would have needed to be a little bit more diplomatic
was
than
already
that.
looped in.
But
We know that from that conversation in the
She
hallway.
wouldn't have been able to strong arm Alviarin. She would have had to have approached it. There had to be something for Alviarin. And I would think all these women, there had to be something in it for them.
Well, yeah, she's going to probably set them up in a position of power because they went along with her.
So there are browns, greens, yellows, only have one sister here, no blues in this meeting.
Well, the blues aren't even in the tower anymore.
They're
Blues
all
are
gone. What does this say for Elida's power structure?
It's a lot. It's a very few colors.
It's right.
Yeah.
It's a very small band.
I would say it's not all of the colors of the rainbow.
No, it is not a Skittles.
She has a small coalition of power that she's working with.
Right,
is
but in
what
this
I'm
case,
going
it
with.
was
Do you think that she could trust her own faction?
no.
She can't. She's clearly trust.
And nor do I think they can trust her.
She's more concerned about
I definitely don't think that they could trust her. But yeah, I don't think that her Aja is like not going to be behind her.
Well, I think the Aja will be behind her.
Will be
but
behind
here's
her,
the thing:
that's
how much can you trust someone who just overthrew somebody else? You can never trust that person very true. Much.
That's like being in a relationship, and you're in a relationship with somebody, and you got into that relationship through seedy means of their previous relationship.
Well, if you had an affair with this person and you both are in a new relationship,
it's oatmeal treat.
You both are like, when's that person going to have an affair?
Right? Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. Do I have my CD means available?
No, you're confusing that
pouch.
with...
Yes, I do.
In my
confusing
satchel.
that with CDB. Those are two totally different things.
CBGB? That's a whole different nightclub in New York.
You're not going to get fed off of CDB. I mean, you could, I suppose.
So during this conversation, we learned that the Shinarans are now fighting with each other. This group that is supposed to be fighting the Blight. There's not enough going on in the Blight, and these warrior people are now like looking around for somebody to argue with. So since they can't argue with and fight Trollocs, they're fighting with each other.
Did they like just disappear?
Well, the Blight is receding. Yeah. So there's that going on. The Shinarans are fighting with each other, and they're moving into the Naim Pass. And then this general of Saldea is heading southeast with an army.
Right, to Davran Bashir and Zenobia.
What is going on here? The shadow was supposed to be rising, and yet the entire Blight seems to be receding.
Calm before the storm, or...
That's the only thing I can come up with.
That or the evils relocating elsewhere, or maybe...
There were a lot of Trollocs in Emmons Field.
They're being channeled through Waygates.
I like the name of the evils relocating elsewhere.
It's right. It's
setting up camp in another area of
it's
town.
Re-gentrifying Emmons Field.
We're evil, but we recognize that we don't want to be around these parts.
We don't like this neighborhood. This Blight is not looking so good.
I was about to say, who would want to hang out in the Blight?
There's worms.
Yeah, there's giant worms. There's things in the water you can't drink from it.
There's giant spidery things with claws and hands.
The trees attack you. Yeah, the leaves drop to the ground and
we need to move.
Yeah.
That Emmons Field looks really nice.
Yeah. They got tobacco.
Plenty of room.
And they got apple brandy.
Yeah. So weird.
So
these people are fighting with each other because they can't find anything else to fight with. Alviarin mentions that Taim is still on the loose, and the word is starting to seep out now of what's going on with him. They've been trying to hide his escape. What might the impact of this be if word gets out that Mazrim Taim has been loosed by somebody?
That they don't have as good a control on their stuff as they're supposed to, I guess.
I think you brought this up actually last episode that he had been, which I was surprised with because I hadn't realized. But how in the world can you say that you're going to get the dragon, quote unquote, under control if you're letting this other one just go? And low game.
Right. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Elida's got to wonder, like, what's going on that this was even able to happen in the first place. Who's heard of I mean, there had to have been a ton of Reds there escorting him, and somebody was able to get in there and free him. And we suspect that it was part of this Black Aja plot, which, by the way, also, you get a weird reaction from Alviarin here when this gets brought up. We need to keep our eyes on her. Yeah, and absolutely, you're right, Adam. It brings into question, like, how can you hope to control Rand, who you know is the Dragon Reborn, versus this guy who's just a dude who can channel?
Apparently a very strong dude who can channel, but it's not Rand.
Rand.
Yeah.
No. It might be like Nynaeve.
It's like
having... might have the power of Nynaeve.
It's like having Anthony from down the block that's really good at boxing, and then this other one's,
Mike Tyson.
Not who I was going to go with, but sure, Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
If Eliada is a dark friend, she seems to be unaware of this dark friend plot, which isn't
uncommon.
Right,
I don't think she is.
I don't think she is either.
I don't think she is. I think she's just bad.
And then something weird gets mentioned here that Tenobia and Davran Bashir don't trust the Aes Sedai to deal with Taim again.
Would you if he's escaped?
Well, wait a minute. They know that he's escaped?
Well, that's where he was captured. He was captured in Saldea.
Well, but how is word not getting out there? I mean, wouldn't it benefit them to be like, hey, this dude, well, Now they don't trust the Aes Sedai. They're on the borderlands, the place where you think that Tarmin Gaiden is going to start. It's not good that that's a place where the trust with the White Tower is eroding. These are the problems that Eliaida could be causing.
Right. Well, it's the Reds that captured him. It's the Reds that bungled it. She's part of the Reds. She's leading this. So that really doesn't bode well. Now, the one thing in their favor is word does not seem to travel very quickly in this land.
It doesn't seem to be in the interest of these Saldeans to tell anyone. They haven't told anyone, which is also strange to me.
Or maybe they have, and it just the trickle effect is taking that.
Maybe we haven't found out about it yet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Eliaida is still concerned about word about this getting out.
Right. And she's getting carrier pigeons from these people as opposed to word of mouth.
Yeah. So that's a problem. And that's a problem directly tied to Eliaida.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned a little bit about the Aes Sedai's eyes and ears. Every Aja except the white has them, interestingly.
Yeah.
They're dedicated to logic, so maybe they're not concerned about the world. But you would think it would be the browns in their ivory tower, no pun intended. But it's not. It's the whites. The whites don't have any eyes and ears.
But the browns you would think would because they're out there traveling about trying to gather this knowledge.
Okay, yeah, trying to gather information. That makes sense. The yellows' eyes and ears are the weakest of those that have them, the healers.
That to me makes sense because the only thing they would have eyes and ears for would be have you discover this new healing method.
And then some Aes Sedai have their own eyes and ears separate from
individual.
And we've sort of seen this with Moiraine before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not surprisingly, the blues is the most extensive of all the Ajas.
Right. Well, there you go.
And then we learn through Avenoline that there's a rumor that Aes Sedai were involved in the Panarch's disappearance.
That's really funny.
Which
everyone thought they were Aes Sedai, but they weren't actually Aes Sedai.
They weren't. We learn a little bit more about Eliaida here. Eliaida is obviously ambitious. We knew that. She's interested in displaying power. She wants people to view her as powerful. She has this triptych in her room of Bonwyn the Red, who was deposed before her manipulation of Archer Hawkwing, as a reminder of how it can all go wrong. What does that say about Eliaida?
Well, I found it really interesting because it's kind of like, but that's what you're doing. I feel like she got in by underhanded means. So she's already doing what that triptych has, and just not many people know about it. So she's already going down that path of that mural.
I don't really understand what her end goal is other than leashing Rand. I don't know what she actually expects to happen after she actually puts a leash around him.
I think she wants all a leash around everybody.
All of a sudden, this last battle is going to happen, and then she's going to be like, "Oh, in the last 5 minutes of it, we're going to let him go, and then he's going to die." I don't know what the triptych would be. That I don't understand why she would keep that there. What is she learning from that she's not doing right now?
It's a warning for those that go too far. It demonstrates
she's gone to the furthest extreme possible.
So far, yeah.
Not yet, she hasn't, because she hasn't put a leash on Rand, but that is her intent. So yeah, it demonstrates to me a concern for going too far, but I don't think that she's demonstrated the lesson yet. She hasn't learned the lesson. She's sort of concerned about it, but she hasn't learned from it yet.
I don't think I just from her personality, I don't think she ever will, because she's so convinced. Like she doesn't get that she's already doing it.
She hasn't learned, but it also demonstrates the possible opportunity for her to learn.
She's got it there for the right reason.
She's aware of the problem. She just hasn't realized how far along the path she is.
She is the problem.
She's where she could be.
She's at that teetering point, and I think she's already got 1 foot over, and she doesn't realize it.
She
thinks she's much closer towards the edge than she actually is.
She doesn't think she's as close to the edge as she is. I mean, what Bonwyn did was Bonwyn went so far with the tower that the reaction to it was what Hawkwing did, which was to hate the Aes Sedai. If she goes as far as she wants to, she runs the risk of all of these people in Westland thinking that the tower is trying to control the savior of the world, which is equally as dangerous. And that's the road that she's on, especially if her intent, like you described, Dave, is to leash him until the last moment and then just throw him onto some, sort of metaphoric altar. It's not the way things are supposed to happen.
On top of that, I put the blame squarely on her for the fact that she has destroyed the tower right now. She has driven the Blue Aja away. she has destroyed the tower by her overthrowing it and kicking out Swan. Right or wrong for what Swan did.
Right, right.
Her actions then destroyed the tower.
And
If that isn't 1 foot over the edge of disaster,
well,
I don't know what is.
But she also knows that she needs to make the tower whole. Like that is part of what one of the next moves that she needs to make.
She wants to make the tower whole so she can control it.
Well, no, not only that, but she also recognizes that the tower needs to be whole in order to put it in the proper position for Tarman guidance. So there's
I don't see that happening ever with her in control.
Well, whether or not you see that happening, she recognizes, like you do, that it needs to be whole in order to be effective for Tarman Gaiden. And so she is going to try to take steps in order to make it whole again.
But she did it.
She's the cause of the schism.
It's interesting that this is happening both to the tower and also to the Aiel.
Rand just hasn't been in the tower yet.
This is a product of the times. The Aiel aren't an institution; they're a culture. But these institutions are becoming fragmented. I mean, all of these stable elements are becoming destabilized. And this is one of the themes of Jordan throughout this book: is that when things end, they fall apart.
That does seem like a major theme of his.
So let's talk a little bit about the Forsaken here and Forsake Me Not. This is the first time that compulsion actually gets used. The previous time that the word compulsion has been used, it was used in chapter 46 of the Shadow Rising. It was a lowercase c, interestingly. Here is the first time it's used with a capital C as a talent.
Do you think that is a typo?
I doubt it's a typo. It's clearly being discussed here as a talent. So I think the previous time it got mentioned, I think it was the first time Jordan mentioned it, and I don't know if he was sure at that time whether or not he was going to intend to use it as a talent or not. But here it is. It's an ability, and we've seen its work manifested a number of different times up to this point.
By quite a few different people.
Right.
Yeah.
Apparently, some people can resist compulsion, though. We finally get like confirmation of this, so this explains Nynaeve.
It doesn't. I don't know if it's something funky with the dream world where it caused her to be able to pull out of that because she fell under compulsion. She went hook, line, and sinker with it.
Sure.
But then something happened in the dream world where she was able to snap out of it.
But we're also seeing this happen with Morghese. I mean, there's also the hint in this narrative that this is going on with Morghese also. Right, no, he does say that some people can't. Also.
But what I'm saying is when Nynaeve was put under compulsion by Moghedien, she was done.
To discuss along the lines of your point, we've also seen that Morghese has fallen completely under the
it's like the after effect.
But we're seeing Morghese fight through that.
Well, that's my point, is maybe it's a delayed time thing where
Ravine even mentions that you can't use this too much, otherwise people will notice what's going on and they'll break through it. So there are a number of different problems with it. It's not a wholesale solution to getting people to comply with you. He does, yeah. He mentions it as when he's musing over what he's doing to Altima. So with the meeting with the Forsaken, did anyone notice that there is an old man in a wrinkled coat in Greyendal's palace?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily who that is, though.
Well, I thought it was Fane.
Oh, I didn't think that at all.
Why else make mention of a weird old man in a wrinkled coat in the background? Why bring that up? What a weird detail.
I've never heard Fane described as old.
He's not young.
I don't think so. He's usually described as someone that's like wearing ratty clothes.
Ratty clothes, and usually we get mention of his nose as an indication of him, but we've had other more subtle ways to indicate him. It seems odd that there is mention of why.
I think that's someone, but I don't think it's Fane. I think we're getting an indication of she's somewhere, and that's probably someone powerful, because we do find out that she likes capturing important people.
She does, yeah.
Fane, not going to be one of those people.
Fane is not going to be captured. I didn't get the sense that this was somebody she was capturing. It seemed like it was someone with whom she was meeting.
Oh, I think it's someone she's got under her spell. Because we already know Fane's in the tower.
But we also know he can travel around, oddly. We know that the Forsaken can travel around using this traveling ability. So it's possible she could have opened up a door that he could have walked through.
I do not foresee Fane having anything to do with the Forsaken that he doesn't have to.
I can understand that this detail was purposeful.
It's there for a reason. Yeah.
It's interesting that the Forsaken feel like Ishamael died because he was too ambitious.
He overreached.
Yeah, they seem to feel like what his death could have been prevented, and he flew too close to the sun. And then we get this mention of Luz Theron. The Forsaken seem to be surprised that he's being reborn. All this mention of the dragon reborn, and yet they seem to be surprised that specifically Luz Theron is coming alive in this moment, because they are used to these heroes of history being randomly spit out. And it seems like Luz Theron has been deliberately chosen for this moment, which totally is throwing them off. Which was interesting to me because all this time we just knew that the dragon was going to be reborn. And yet here are these people who seem to know more and have more experience with this world and time and all that stuff than anybody else. And they're completely baffled by it. Lanfear suspects that someone else is trying to control Rand.
Yeah.
Who would that be? Trying to control Rand.
It could be any one of the other Forsaken.
Well, who would be in a position where they could control Rand? Obviously, they're all trying to control him, but she suspects there's somebody else who is actually exacting influence on him.
Well, like, as Adam was saying, it could be any one of the Aes Sedai. It could be any of these girls that are in love with him.
She thinks it's another powerful entity.
Well, Asmodean's the only one close enough, and he's not powerful. Apparently, we found out he's like the least powerful of all the Forsaken.
Could she be referring to Podden Fane?
I don't think he's trying to control Rand. I think he's trying to annihilate him.
He is trying to control Rand from the standpoint of he's trying to manipulate him. He was trying to manipulate him to Emond's Field. He was trying to draw him there.
That's failed. Just so he can kill him. He's not trying to manipulate Rand.
Well, it could be that, or it could be the Luke.
I don't think Podden's trying to control Rand. He just wants to kill him. He's just trying to control the circumstances to get Rand to
maybe
him.
The word control isn't the right word. Maybe influence is a better word here. She feels like there's somebody that's trying to influence Rand. Fane is definitely trying to influence Rand into a trap to kill him. It's the only other person that we've seen outside of Lanfear who is in Moiraine, who I don't think Lanfear is referring to here, that is trying to lead Rand in a specific direction.
I have no idea.
Okay.
It would have to be another Forsaken.
I think it's Fane.
Who.
It's the only other person whose influence on him she might be able to witness.
To show that it is most definitely not Fane.
When has she witnessed that?
Well, remember, she can see she's almost omnipresent. She's just seeing an influence on Rand's life. She's seeing somebody do something around Rand in order to pressure him in a certain direction or draw him somewhere.
I think.
I would imagine it'd be more Moiraine than anyone.
She could identify Moiraine. She knows who Moiraine is. That she could put a finger on. She'd be able to identify that right away. It wouldn't be a mystery.
Semirhage. We got to get to this.
Right. Okay.
You do.
I looked for mentions of Semirhage in all these books. Up to this point, the only mention of her is in a chapter that Robert Jordan introduced into The Eye of the World long after these books were published. In The Eye of the World, Jordan added this chapter called Earlier. It is before the prologue now in The Eye of the World. And
so it's the first thing you read in these books.
If you read newer editions of the books.
Okay.
And in it, the name Semirhage is mentioned as a thing to frighten children.
It's a name that was used to frighten the children. I have read that.
But then, no. We've read that the Forsaken have been used to frighten children only in this specific pre-chapter, which is really long, by the way, is the name Semirhage used. The only other instance that you will find for her is the glossary for The Shadow Rising.
They definitely talked about a Forsaken that likes to keep pets.
Yes, she's been alluded to a number of different times, along with several other of the Forsaken. We've had allusions to some of their personalities as well. This is the first time where her name gets mentioned. Yeah. So we have a name to another new Forsaken here. All right, so let's get Randy here. So the biggest thing that's going on with Rand at this point is he is clearly dealing with split personalities now, right? He doesn't seem in control of his emotions any longer. He's getting angry out of the blue. He's using terms with which he's not even familiar.
I'm going with Jordan's belief in rebirth and reincarnation. We are seeing Luz Theron coming out. Okay. I have a feeling that we're going to see maybe Luz Theron take over.
That's a battle within his mind.
I think it's greater than that. I think there's another soul attached to this too.
I don't know how aware of it he is. It feels to me at this point like the same thing that Matt goes through when he sort of uses the old tongue. Matt, I don't think that Matt is struggling with whether or not somebody else is possessing his physicality. I just think that Matt is feeling as if he has now access to, right, he now has access to more information. At this point, we know about the Luz Theron Rand thing, and we've sort of been waiting for
we got real reason to be concerned because he's like, he'll drift off and just...
But I don't know that Rand...
He's crazy.
I don't think that Rand is aware that this is a Luz Theron thing. I think that Rand is still thinking that... Because Rand's learning so many new things at this point.
Rand's convinced he's going crazy. Here it is. This is the onset of me going crazy.
He does have a moment where he battles with that, but I think he convinces himself that that's not what is going on.
What do you think he thinks it is?
I think he thinks that he's having some sort of momentary frustration. I don't know that he's pinpointed it to, and I don't know that we can pinpoint it to.
Well, he's talking about Eliaida.
Right. Yeah. No, as readers, I mean, we can pinpoint it to Luz Theron, but we have no idea where this is going to lead.
No.
We don't know what this is leading to.
No, and that was my statement of it. I feel like it's going to lead to like some instance of like, if he's unaware of it and it's starting to happen more frequently, that's concerning. Where does Rand end and Luz Theron begin?
Well, because in a sense, as readers, we could be losing our protagonist here.
Well, and the Forsaken are aware of it. They're talking about Luz Theron being reborn within Rand, and so
which completely confuses them. They're totally confused as to how
some of them, not Lanfear.
Well, that's one of them.
Right.
All the rest.
She seems to be the smartest one out of all of them.
Well, she's the one who's had the most direct exposure to Rand.
Yeah.
She's also, I mean, we know that she also is possibly the most powerful Forsaken. She's also omnipresent. She's not hiding in the corners like Moghedien or she doesn't.
Or even Ravine.
Right, or Ravine. The rest,
Samael.
Well, all of the rest of them, with the exception of a Shamael, seem to have much smaller plans. Lanfear's plans are transcontinental.
She wants to take on the Dark One and the Creator.
Possibly, yeah. I wonder how much of that is just talk.
Who knows with her?
She's also revealed herself to a great deal more people in the fact that she's revealed herself to Rand, which certainly none of them have. And so she's just playing a much bigger and bolder game than the rest of them are. So the fact that she's more aware of what's going on shouldn't really be surprising.
Yeah.
But where this thing leads to with Rand, I mean,
I don't see it leading anywhere good right now.
It's scary. I mean, it's scary as a reader because I don't want to lose Rand. Rand is the guy I know. I don't know this Luz Theron guy. We met him in a prologue in the first book, and that was it. Right, and he was going crazy. He was insane at that point. From what we've seen of him so far, he's also a little arrogant, which
Rand.
We're sort of kind of on that thing with Rand, but Rand's arrogance is less the arrogance of power and more simply
starting to get that way.
Yeah, you and I still disagree, have a slight disagreement there. Arrogance comes from years and centuries of experience.
Right. Yeah.
It's a much more realized arrogance than Rand's is, and I think that. And once again, I that's just conjecture. We've had a chapter with the guy.
Size, yeah.
But that's the thing that I'm really scared of. I don't want to lose Rand in all of this because I still like Rand. I like Rand, and I want to keep him. I want him to. And he's making good turns. He's reaching an agreement with Moiraine. Not mutual, but at least still some kind of an agreement.
Still happened.
Where they're trusting each other. We just feel to be heading in a good direction here, and now we're losing him.
Now he's going slightly insane, maybe, or who knows what it is.
I'm worried we're going to lose Rand. I'm worried that this is the manifestation of insanity because we don't know. We don't have any confirmation that this is in fact this hero from the past being
But they keep
thrown in
using the
here.
term the dragon reborn for a reason.
Right. There's just a lot going on. There are some things that I think we can assume. There are other things that we don't know. My greatest fear as a reader is losing this character that we've spent so much time with.
Yeah.
And it seems to have a good core. It has gone awry for very understandable reasons, but there's still like a good guy in there, and I'm hoping that that good guy gets an opportunity to reassert himself.
I want the good guy to return more than it is right there right now.
Right.
But now we're dealing with this wrinkle, and it's happening more frequently.
And by all
people are
measures, one would only expect it to increase.
So Moraine and Rand are apologizing to one another pretty hard at one point. I think it's chapter 5 or something
mostly
like that.
Moraine.
It's chapter 6.
No. Rand does it as well.
It's chapter 6. It's my favorite. It's my favorite section. Yes.
This is your favorite section. Okay.
Yes.
So I think it's a bit foreboding in the fact that we see both of them treating one another like this. I feel like one of them is going to die at some point soon.
Well, hopefully it's not Rand.
Yeah, hopefully it's not Rand. But
it goes to Moraine's whole morose.
Right. We've been concerned about this for a while. This has been coming on for a while. And what you're observing is reaching a pinnacle.
Yeah. We haven't... Moraine really is going hardcore trying to get him just to, I guess, have even a conversation with her at that point.
Rand's acting a bit like a spoiled brat, and she's trying to humble herself.
And Lan,
she's trying to regain trust also. She's trying to regain a lot of lost trust.
Yeah.
Sure. Dave, that's a good way to say it, is she's trying to humble herself.
She's definitely humbling herself.
I haven't seen this from her really before.
It
makes me a little bit worried. This. We've been wondering about ever since she came out of Reudian about what she saw in there, because she's was either gone for a long time or just asking specific questions. And now it just makes me seem like she's going to die at some point soon, and I don't like the idea.
That's a pretty accurate reading. There's been a growing sense of foreboding around her. And from what we've witnessed and understood of her up to this point, what else could drive her to this moment where she really lowers herself to a degree that we have come nowhere close to seeing in her character? I mean, this is a part of her character that we have had no exposure to at all.
This is the most connected these two have ever been.
Yeah, that's very true. It really felt like that. And it really felt like
I feel like it's growing out of a foundation that was begun toward the end of last book, and this is the culmination of it. Though, if we had to talk about these two in relationship with each other, Moraine lowers herself far more than Rand in this relationship.
Absolutely, Rand does admit a little bit. Okay, I've been a bit of a jerk,
right? But he still exacts a heavy toll from her.
Yes, he does. And what is it that she's really asking? She's asking for him to listen to her.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How difficult is that? And that's why Egwene and Lan are both like, you're acting like a big patoot here.
It's really difficult, though, for him because he has all of that Two Rivers prejudice. Yeah. And then he has the examples of what he feels like has been a manipulation, and what she feels like is just her trying to help him get to where she knows he needs to go. It's been a battle of two perspectives, this whole story so far.
Rand, after this discussion that he has with her, he just opens up this portal. And then Moraine is like, what is that?
Just traveling.
Don't mind me.
And then Rand's like, no big deal.
But it isn't traveling.
I apologize to you, and now I'm out. Look what I can do.
And that was almost my Willow moment of the week. There's apparently a better way to travel that we don't know.
I'm just a little concerned about Moraine. She just feels like she's kind of fragile.
All right, Adam,
the real deal.
Who was your Coplin of the week?
Oh, my Coplin of the week is the seal that was flaking off.
That's a laugh riot. That's what
These seals have not done very well. I mean, I guess they have for 3,000 years, but you would hope that they would last longer than that with what you're trying to contain.
They don't have much of a choice.
it's like a bubble of
They
evil
don't
has
really have a
landed on the
will.
seal.
I don't know. I feel like there should be a will to the seals.
It is a
Yeah.
problem.
It's a big issue.
They're very important because they're essentially the locks on a cell door, and they're
But
rusting.
are they only as strong as the magic that's imbued
It's
into
sealed
them?
door.
I mean, there's the assumption that broken, they've lost their ability to do what they're supposed to do, but nobody knows that
True.
for sure. Because this is power that predates anybody's knowledge. I
Except
think
for the Forsaken.
everybody's really worried that they're breaking,
Mm-hmm.
and Quain DR is now flaking like a scone. So that's a problem.
Mm.
Who was your Coplin for the week? Dave.
I kind of did what I did before, where I'd collectively going with the wise ones. Where I'd leveled them up once, I think, before.
So they're your Coplin for the week.
They're my Coplin for the week because of what they're doing to Avienda. If Avienda is indeed in love with Rand, and they are aware of the fact that they're in love with Rand, I get what they're doing because they want to tie someone to Rand because they want to save their people.
Because Rand is making deliberate efforts to do the opposite of what they want.
Well, it isn't even just that. It's they're trying to save their people. They're trying to stick a woman with Rand to maybe have kids.
Sure.
Whatever it is. But hey, you know what? That's Avienda's choice.
Sure.
And I don't like their methods to do it.
No.
It's really shady.
Avienda seems to be interested in Rand.
She does, but there's a difference between being interested for your own reasons and someone else going.
Avienda is now becoming a sympathetic character.
Yeah,
Right.
we're starting to like
She's
her.
in a tough spot.
Yeah.
And because of the manipulation that she's undergoing. I think it's directly attributed to that. We are starting to feel like you sorry for her because they're doing such a difficult thing for her. It's pretty clear to us at this point that the thing that she's been struggling with is her own emotions.
Yeah, and I don't know. I wonder where that started.
It seems to have occurred very early on because, I mean, she's disliked him from the beginning.
Right.
And her dislike to him seems to be a direct reaction to her attraction to him.
It could be that, or it could be maybe she just didn't like him to begin with, but then that dislike turned into, well, he's not so bad.
That would be harder to parse than exactly where her attraction
right.
occurred.
And that's what I don't know.
It's much easier to go, you know, she's
really liked him from the beginning, but
Right.
pretended she didn't.
And the way that Jordan presents romance is very juvenile. All of these people treat people that they're interested in a very sophomoric way. So I'm more apt to believe that Avienda's protestations to the relationship are more of a product of her interest in Rand than they are
Which is problematic when you really think about that to begin with, because her first instances of knowing about Rand are through Elaine,
that's her
who she's
challenge.
become
Right.
friends with before she even meets Rand.
And this is exactly the problem. This is the psychic struggle that she's been dealing with for a book and a half now. Or a book.
It is a realistic
book.
thing too. I mean, we don't.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. And then she has these people who have the greater interest of their race in place, and they're manipulating her in order to achieve the greater good's ends.
Right.
That doesn't do the individual much good.
So that was kind of who I went with for the week.
All right, my Coplin of the week is Alviarin.
Okay.
We think that Eliaida is a problem. Alviarin seems to me
There's
to be a
something
greater
about her.
problem than Eliaida. Even though you're right, Eliaida approached her. She seems to have agreed with Eliaida to achieve ends that Eliaida does not even seem, and we don't seem aware of.
We don't know enough about her, and you're instantly disposed to disliking her because of she's a white. She's dispassionate about things. She doesn't have a
Eliaida
personality.
definitely doesn't like her for all those reasons.
Right, and she doesn't have a personality type that she's like Jay Cutler.
She's got jerk face.
She's just she's just got no face.
We'll start making memes with Alviarin smoking a cigarette.
I mean, it's just
you know, Eliaida would be thrilled with her if Alviarin could have an emotional reaction that Eliaida could lash out against in public, but she doesn't do that. She constantly stays cool, and that seethes Eliaida even more in her core. Alviarin seems to be playing even a longer game than Eliaida is.
And we don't know what that game is.
Well, we don't. But the fact that we don't know means that we, i.e.
But she has
me,
gone
suspects
with
it's
the-
not good.
She has gone along with Eliaida to this point.
Well, she has, because I think it's helping her game, whatever that is. So she's more dangerous because of
Yes,
that,
I agree.
to my mind. So who leveled up for you?
My level up was Moraine.
Oh, wow. She humbles herself and levels up for you.
Yeah, because it takes a lot to do that.
It takes a lot of will.
And it takes a lot of eating crow.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing that she does.
And I mentioned before, this is one of my favorite scenes. It is a side of her we've never seen before. It's a side that we possibly doubted existed. It's probably potentially calculated, but it does seem genuine. Something's going on. Something we don't like is going on with her in this last book.
Ever since
pages.
right in.
I postulate even before then.
Maybe even before then.
We've come out of the first Terangrial. She knows something we don't know. This is the only way she could reach Rand because of his huge level of distrust.
And not only that, but he has gained agency. He now has enough power to make decisions for himself. Whereas prior, she could get him to do stuff because she knew more than he did.
Right, and she still probably does.
And she still does, but now he has achieved agency that he didn't have before.
Yeah.
Kudos to her. This is a full realization of her creed, which is the greater good is more important, even if that means humbling herself,
Which had to be incredibly difficult to do.
Absolutely. Because she's always the smartest person in the room, or at least she's got to feel that way, even when she's in a room with Swan. But she knows what is most important to her, and even if that means the metaphoric execution of her ego, she's willing to sacrifice that, which means that her belief in the greater good, it demonstrates to me that that's true.
Yeah, it's genuine and authentic.
Yep. And so I gained admiration for her as well through this. But Rand leveled up for me. He fights off the Dark Hounds. He uses Balefire. He learns about what Balefire is. He's been working with Asmodean now for 2 weeks. He has control over Saidin that he didn't before. He's learning to travel.
Do stuff.
He's just gaining control. Just as he'd become a master of the sword through Lan, he's on the path, even though you're right. There are some things that Asmodean is having a hard time helping him to realize. He's still on the path to becoming
he's just
what
scratching the
Theron
surface.
could do.
Yeah, he's just scratching the surface.
Who leveled up for you?
Logain leveled up for me because he actually has a personality that we actually get to see. Haven't gotten
clubbed
that
a couple of
before.
people on the head.
Yeah.
Stole
made
some gold.
decisions that might have been bad, but he's the only other man that can wield the power that we have ever had experience with.
Yeah,
and now we actually get to see more of him. And he actually went back to help them out, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it wasn't completely altruistic, but he did do it.
It wasn't, but I mean, all of them are relying on each other for reasons of their own.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
absolutely.
Could have taken off,
or for
because he had the money to do it.
Okay, so that is episode 37. May you rest in the Creator's hand.
May you know good hunting, young bull, and cheese to give you many cubs.
Doviendas et Tovius again.
Yeah, nice. Well done.
Yes.